Hey everyone, and welcome to I can't believe it's actually the 12th episode. I can't believe it's been going on this long. I'm so happy and excited about today's episode. It's very, very special. But before I introduce my guest today, my name is Dr. Hanan Salim. I'm your host. I'm an international speaker, the author of Second Chances, and recognized by the International Wellness and health gurus as the most influential thought leader in health and well-being. So the reason I launched Second Chances, part of the reason is my guest today, which he'll explain more. We'll be talking about how to do this podcast, how much benefit it'll give you. But he's actually the main reason I started this show, and he really pushed me into it. I'm very, very grateful for him and very happy and excited to have him today. And it's actually the reason I named it Second Chances is after my book, Second Chances, where I give the roadmap on how to use and leverage challenges, if you will, make them into opportunity, whether it be you want to call it mindset or NLP, whatever the teachings that you think of. But it's all in there, the roadmap of how to get over health and wellness issues, as well as leveraging that into every area in your life, including finances, relationships, and so on and so forth. So without further ado, we have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions actually today for Spencer, and he's going to bring you a lot of value. So I want to introduce him. He's the founder of the Blue Sky startups across the world and became a health nine-figure organization. He's the parent. He has the parent company of 3 award-winning brands, including Benepli, a SaaS-based platform that manages HR administration, Finsbury Associates Wealth Management and corporate insurance brokerage, Safe Hands, a corporate health and wellness brand. He is from a working class. He's a kid who became something from nothing, really, and he's going to share his story today. And he is driven to share the expertise through leadership training. He actually launched his book, Making It Happen, which is the ultimate guide to selling. Spencer Lodge podcast, which we're going to talk about, and how he actually encouraged me as well, because he's a very big advocate on launching your podcast. He has a distinct style of inspirational, motivational seminars. And anyone who knows Spencer, he comes in with a lot of energy and a lot of excitement, and he really pumps you up with motivation, and he's going to bring that hopefully today. Spencer has helped a lot of coaches, tens of thousands of people to think outside the box, stay disciplined, and create a life-changing results. I could vouch for that because I'm also part of his Make It Happen University, and I'm really excited, and I could vouch that it gives a lot of benefits. He has also worked with a lot of companies across industries like Kodak, Emirates Golf Resorts, and Bayou, helping create over 50% increases in their revenue. As the creator of Make It Happen University, which is an e-learning platform, Spencer guides future winners through the strategic steps of closing every deal and achieving massive business success. And he's really, the way I knew Spencer was he was like the sales guy, if you will, of UAE. He's known for that. And he brings it on a new, different level that you've never even imagined, how we can do sales really easily. People are afraid of sales. He puts you at ease, and he gives you all the tips and tricks to make it happen. On top of all this, Spencer hosts the award-winning Spencer Lodge podcast, which sees him connect with the most powerful industry experts, including Tony Robbins. I saw that episode. I was so excited. Dr. John DeMartini, Gary Vee, and of course, Grant Cardone. So without further ado, I want to introduce our very excited special guest, Spencer Lodge. Hey, Spencer, how are you? Did I do it justice?
Do it again. I want another intro like that. That was amazing. Give me another intro like that. I wish I recorded that. That was incredible. Thank you.
It's recorded.
I'm going to steal that and turn that into a little bit of content.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me on the show. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay, I'm so excited to have you. So tell us about your second chances journey. Like everybody, loves you, and you're the sales guru, I call you, right? So before you were the sales guru, where were you? How did your journey look like?
Well, I kind of like a lot of people's. I think. I think that the world expects us all to do well at school and then go to university and get the kind of like the parental approved degree and then go into the kind of like corporate safe and steady world of business and I think my parents expected the same, but I just didn't get school. I didn't understand school. I didn't understand subjects at school. I just didn't have interest in them. I couldn't understand why I needed to learn how to sew. I couldn't understand why I needed to learn how to do things with metal and wood at school, and I certainly for sure didn't understand why I needed to do religious studies, chemistry, biology. Biology, that's the worst subject in the world, biology. There's like, whoever wants to do biology? And
I did.
and it's like, what a subject. And I think the only subject I really enjoyed about outside of kind of like sports at school was geography. And that's because my father was living overseas and I had a big map on my wall at home. And we had pins where my dad was, various countries, and a little piece of cotton that would take us to from home to where he was. And so I think that because I've always had trouble concentrating, I've had trouble learning over the years as a kid. I just failed. I failed, or whether you want to blame the system, blame me. I remember having to revise for subjects, before exams, and I just sit there looking at the pages of the books that I'd been writing in for the term or the year or semester or whatever you call it, and they just didn't mean anything to me. It was like, why do I need to know about all of this stuff in history? Why is it important? And guess what? For some people it is, and that's what's beautiful about the world, because we're all made differently. But I didn't do very well at school. I didn't have any chance of going to university. That was a no-no. And that was a bit of a disappointment to my parents, because back in the late 80s, university was one of those things that was going to be important. And so I really wanted to be a ski instructor, because that was a cool thing to do. I could ski every day, teach people to ski. I'd be on the mountains. I loved activity. And so I found my place doing that. But my mum ran a recruitment consultancy. And in one summer, she kicked me out of bed and she's like, right, you've got to get a proper job. And I had 3 job interviews, went for those, and they were all selling jobs. And apart from a couple of hurdles along the way, I ended up learning to sell office equipment for a big office equipment manufacturer, a Japanese electronic company in London. And it was just a phenomenal experience. It's something I identified with straight away. I didn't really understand office equipment, but you never do when you start. But the whole process of prospecting and door knocking and cold calling and stuff like that was something that didn't really faze me. Now, granted, I had really good training. So I remember my boss saying to me the first time I picked the phone up, he said, look, I want you to make 100 cold calls. Here's your pitch. Here's the objections and how you handle the objections. Make the 100 calls. But I want you to do me a big, big favor before you start. Okay, as soon as you've got 99 no's, come and tell me. And I was like, 99 no's? Surely we're looking for yeses. And he's like, no, I want you to find 99 no's. And that was it. And so he left me there, and I make these calls, and I wasn't very good. And one call after the other, no, thank you, some bad language sometimes, people hung up on me, all the usual stuff. And I went to my boss, and I got the 99 no's, and he gave me a high five and a hug. He's like, brilliant, awesome job. He said, now tomorrow I want you to do the same. And so again, I got on the phone, I got 99 no's. He's like, good. He said, I want you to understand, to get a yes, you have to earn it. And the way you get a yes is to get 99 no's first. So today, I want you to get 99 no's, and I want you to get 1 yes. But remember, you won't get the yes until you've got the no's. And so what he was teaching me, I didn't know it at the time, but what he was teaching me was to understand rejection. And so when I learned about rejection and the fact that it didn't faze me, I was conditioned to accept it. I became very thick-skinned, which meant prospecting for me became very easy. And I think that any business needs to know how to prospect. And a lot of people don't like it, they're not comfortable with it. But for me, it's like, it's part of the job. Not everyone's going to be interested in what you're selling. So, accept it and crack on. And so that was kind of like a foundation for me. And then I moved from that industry and I moved into financial services in 1993. And bear in mind, I've been in London making 100 cold calls a day and 99 people saying no or a similar number. When I got into financial services, all of a sudden people were saying yes. And I was like, what do you mean yes? You know, are you supposed to say no? They're like, no, it'd be interesting to learn about that. And so all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, hold on a minute. Prospecting's a whole lot easier doing financial services. Mm-hmm. And then I learned about financial advice. And when I learned about it and I learned about how important it was, I became very passionate about it. And the reality is that a lot of people listening right now or listening to this on playback later on, okay, don't like talking about financial services. They don't like, they think the stock markets are quite a confusing world. They think that pensions old people, they think for life insurance is for when you're going to die and stuff like that. But sadly, most people retire without enough money. Sadly, most people are underinsured. And sadly, most people don't take their future finances seriously. So that kind of got me in a position where I felt it was my duty to grab people by the scruff of the neck and teach them what they needed to know. And so as much as it's all about sales, the fact is it's not about sales at all. It's about your duty and your responsibility to make sure that you educate people on the products and services that you offer, okay, and you help them find value in those. And that's what I was doing, because I so believed in what I did that there wasn't any way you could tell me, nobody could tell me that not saving for your retirement was a good thing. Nobody could tell me that leaving your money in the bank at 3 or 4% is a good thing. Nobody could tell me that spending all of your salary every month was a good thing. And certainly nobody could tell me that spending 50 or 60% of your income on rent was a good thing. And so I got better and better and better around my knowledge and my expertise. And just literally this industry became me. And fortunately, because I behaved like that and I was so passionate about it, I was able to generate great revenue and income for myself. And, you know, I did well for myself in my early years of doing that job. But it wasn't until I got into that industry, I got into sales really, that I really paid attention to learning. Before then, it wasn't so important, but then it became really important. You know, study became really important, whether that be books or online or whichever way. I was thirsty, whereas at school I seemed to be given enough water, so I didn't need a drink.
So, which leads us to the you know, I'm a big advocate of service is the new selling, and I know you're a big advocate of that. I think I was fortunate to be part of your mastermind group that was on last night, and you were just out to really help. I mean, can you tell us the story you mentioned about Ali, who had called you and you just wanted to help the guy, that how that worked for you, which I thought that was an amazing story. So I think this story kind of sums up the point of the service is the new selling.
Yeah, well, there was a guy that contacted me and he needed some advice, and he sent me a message on Instagram, explained what his situation was, and I was like, okay, understood, but I didn't understand enough. And what I could have done is I could have gone back with some messages to him. But for me, it's just easier just to pick the phone up and talk about it. And so I said, give us your number. I gave him a call and I'm like, tell me about where you are. And I explained where he was. And I just spent 30 minutes giving him some advice and, you know, pointing him in the right direction and caring enough to, you know, be interested in what he was doing. And then he contacted me a few weeks later and said, look, my dad has asked me to find a mentor and I think you're the man. And I was like, great, no problem at all, you know. And I just thought he was a youngster. I'm like, yeah, you're probably not going to be able to afford what I'm doing. He's like, look, I can't, but my dad can, and I want to work with you. And I was going, well, why me? There's lots of other people out there. He said, you were the only person that took the time to try and help me all those weeks ago, and you asked for nothing in return. And I see how busy you are on social media. You asked for nothing in return, and you gave me your time, and I will forever be grateful for that. So please, will you coach me? and that's how that journey. And that journey just started very, very recently in terms of coaching him. He's a lovely young man as well.
Wow, that's amazing. And another thing you mentioned is about learning, continuous learning, whether you're reading a book, you're, you know, just one of the important things that we were talking about as well is even learning, being involved in a mastermind group, someone who's a little bit higher than you, that you could actually, fill in the gap of being able to have them help you fill the gap of what you need, of the level you need. Now, I know that you never say no, right, to anything, and that's, I want to talk about also how Najahi, you became the MC for Najahi's coaching platform, and that was because you said no, yes, and then you went and learned, or you went and explored how you could perfect it, how you could, and this was actually the first time you were actually an MC. So can you tell us that story and linking it how people can, expand and get out of their comfort zone and becoming advocate learners? Because you always press that upon people, always learn. I remember also when I said, Spencer, I don't know how to do a podcast. He's like, you were like, Hun, just go do it. I remember that was your advice. It's like, just do it and learn it. Yeah.
So. There's a famous Richard Branson quote that says, if you get offered a job that's way beyond what you can do, accept it and learn fast. And I think that I read that many years ago when I was reading his books. And so, I'd spoken on stage before, but I'd never emceed a crowd like Najahi. And for whatever reason, the opportunity came to me indirectly through, the sources I've spoken about before. And they said, would I do it? And I agreed to do it. And, the author, and I hope author's not watching this or listening to this right now. And if you are author, I'm sorry, because I've never told her this.
By the way, she does. She follows my show. It's okay.
And so she said to me, have you done this before? And I'm like, yeah, loads. She's like, she's done MC. Yeah, and I've done loads of MCing. I'd never MC'd an event like that before. And so that was a first for me. But I decided that, guess what? I like to be on the stage. I love public speaking. So for me, that's a safe place for me. When I'm on stage, it's probably where I'm at my calmest. And for a lot of people, that's just a terrifying thing. But for me, it's a good thing. And so I offered she agreed that I should do it. I did it and hosted that event for the weekend. And then ever since, Orpha and I have a really close relationship. There's a lot of trust between us. And I've done my best to try and support her in every way I can. And in return, she's done her best to support me. And we now have a really lovely relationship. She's her business, Najahi, sponsor my podcast. She gives me access to some guests that maybe I wouldn't normally get. And also as well, I'm finding opportunities to meet people that I think could be good for going on a stage. The last teaching event, there was a guy called John Penberthy who teaches webinars, and John's a really good friend of mine. And so, we've been able to help each other, but I'm very grateful for the relationship I have with her. And I think she's a bit of a rock star secretly, but and what a story she's got to tell. Oh my goodness, what a story she has to tell. But that's probably another episode on another day.
Oh, yeah. I remember that Kaching, and you guys planned a surprise for me that day, and you pulled me on stage. I had no clue when we were announcing the Najahi tribe, and you're like, Hanan, where are you? And I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, I'm very fortunate and very happy and very grateful to both you and Aqua for recognizing my talents and being involved in the Najahi tribe and bringing my mentorship along with you, which is amazing. Speaking of which, you have an amazing webinar tonight, right, at 7 o'clock with Najahi, which I'm going to join, by the way.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It'd be nice to see you there. So I think we've got a few hundred people that will be coming this evening. I'll be running these webinars probably, I think, twice a month over the course of the next 6-12 months. And I'll be teaching people the stuff that I know and helping people understand where they are and giving them the tools they need. And hopefully some of them will want to join in a masterclass session and group and become part of the coaching program that I have, because I really believe that there's a lot of stuff that's sold in terms of online teachings and solutions to learn how to do something. But with those types of things, they're great. They're very, very content rich, but there's not much accountability. And I think that accountability plays a big part in how people succeed, hence the reason that I do something different to everybody else. You know, I coach every single week. So people go into my groups, like you're in one of the groups, and every single week I show up, and if it's 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, I don't care how long it is, because I want you to understand, you've got to learn stuff, okay? And I'm watching. And if you know I'm watching and you know I'm supporting, then I think that people, then they raise their game a bit and do more than they would normally.
Absolutely. So like you mentioned, I'm part of your Make It Happen University. I'm very fortunate, and the group and the mastermind is absolutely, absolutely amazing. So why don't you tell us about that? So if people wanted to come on board and you know, you really put a lot of, you put me accountable, for example, for launching this show. And like I mentioned earlier before I introduced you, you're the reason why I have Second Chances show, really, is because you really pushed me and you really encouraged me, and you really took away that fear and you made me accountable for actually executing the show. And it's the 12th episode. I can't believe it. I pinch myself right now. Yeah.
Well, I think that number one, as I said earlier, it's accountability. But number two, I think that people self-sabotage a lot. And self-sabotage means they talk themselves out of a lot of stuff that they know is right for them. You know, I don't say to anybody to do stuff that they don't think is the right thing to do. Everything that I say, you know, you should be doing it anyway. It's not like it's rocket science, but you fear it. You fear the potential outcome. You fear what people might think, what people might say. You feel about the fear of being exposed. And my job is to help you look at your business and find out how you can grow it. So by using all kinds of online technology and methods and social media, but also skills to find new clients, skills that you can use to help yourself serve better the marketplace or the community that you work in. And you know, all of us, everyone in the group has their own skill set, they have their own knowledge, but some people need a bit more inspiration. Some people need a bit more motivation. Some people need, the step-by-step process to creating a podcast. Some people need to know how to generate more leads. But I come in every single week and I coach that group, as I do with the other groups, every single week, because I want you to develop from where you are now to where you want to be. And I'm acutely aware that whether you're a startup or you're a coach, there's a lot of people talk about the price of stuff and they don't focus on the value. They sell by using the word value, but they buy using the word price, which is really interesting. And this part of the world is very different to other parts of the world I've been to. Everybody wants something for nothing. But the trouble is, if you don't pay for something, no matter what it is, there's less commitment to it. Even if it's you get 2 free movie tickets, we're going to go to the movies. I've got these 2 free tickets for this showing tonight at 9 o'clock. If you haven't paid for it, then there's an easier reason to get out of it. If you've paid the 50 dirhams each for those tickets, then the likelihood is there's going to be a much bigger chance you're going to go to that showing of that movie in the theatre. So I think it's really important that people understand that if you want to learn and grow, that you take seriously the fact that you've got to invest a bit in yourself to get there. You know, you wouldn't think twice about spending $20,000 educating your kids, but thinking about spending $200 educating yourself is like, you know, and a lot of the time we have people out there that don't realize what they don't know. So they know what they know and they don't know what they don't know. And that leads them to not progressing. They stagnate, they don't grow, they don't move forward. Men are worse than women, if I'm really honest. Men become a little bit more arrogant around the subject. Well, there's nothing you could teach me. You know, I've been around the block a few times, this kind of stuff. And it's just pointless because there's nothing. If you want to get a promotion in the company you're working with, you can't just sit down and carry on doing your job going, promotion, promotion, promotion. Can I have a promotion? You've got to bring more to the table. And so that means you've got to learn more so that you can bring more. And if you bring more, your bosses will see that you're bringing more, you're adding more value. So you deserve the promotion. If you're an entrepreneur or you're a coach, there's lots of coaches out there. Look, all of you coaches have got to understand that the way that you make money is by having clients. Whatever it is you coach, you can coach people to clean cars, or you can coach people to self-heal. There's a million things you can coach on. But if you don't have any clients, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. And so selling and understanding how to sell is so vital to everybody in business. And last night, interestingly, on the group, there were a couple of people saying, I don't like sales, you know. And if I'd have been really black and white and honest with those people last night, I'm like, well, then you don't like business. If you don't like selling, you don't like business, because selling is like the backbone of your business.
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of there's an expression in the U.S. If you don't have skin in the game, then you're not going to be committed. Yeah. So if I've seen it over and over, and on the other side, also I've seen people who sign up for a 12-week program and they're doing only maybe half of it. Yeah. Again, on that part as well. Even though I'm always after them and creating accountability. So since you're, I want to ask you also, since you're my sales guru, that I really admire you because you make it simple, and you make it to the point where, you teach from the heart. You're one of the few people who talk about financing and sales from the heart. I've never seen it before. And that's, I think, your uniqueness, Spencer, that I don't think I've ever told you about that before. Yeah, seriously. So what would you advise people about sales and how to overcome the fear? I mean, you really did, you really hit it home last night with the group. And can you just mention that again for my audience, like what sales really is that really makes a whole different shift in mindset about selling?
If you have a gift or a specialist subject, you have a duty to help people with that knowledge. You have a responsibility to take that skill that you have and help other people with it. Now, if you own a business, you have a duty. There's 2 rules in business. Okay, 2 really big. The first rule in business, okay, is to make sure your business survives. Okay, okay, that's the first rule of business. Okay, no matter what happens, make sure the business survives. Second rule in business is to make a profit. Otherwise, why are you in business? Okay, it's called business. It's not called hobby. It's called business, and business is business. And so if you have a skill, you've got to make sure that you share it with people so that they can benefit from it. If you've got a business, then you've got to make sure your responsibility and your duty is to make sure you do what's in the best interest of the business. And it's essential that you take that seriously. It's essential that you don't put up false walls in front of you and sell yourself on nonsense, negative self-talk, because you have a duty to be successful, you have a duty to help people, and you have a duty to build your business. And so for everybody that's in business, whether you're a one-man band, a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, okay, the rules are the same. Now, when people struggle for me, is one big thing is they don't believe in what they're selling. All right, they kind of believe in it, but they're more focused on making money than they are in bringing what their product or their service to that audience. And so money drives them, and I find that quite insincere. Okay, if you're driven just by money, then do you really believe in your product, or do you really just believe in you want to make a load of money? And if you just want to make a load of money, then sometimes you can become unethical about it because your reasons aren't as sincere as they can be. If you want to take your product or service and you want to bring value with that product to other people, and you really believe in your product, like I really believe in what I do, then you sell nothing to anyone. Yeah. I don't sell anything to anyone. I just don't take anyone's nonsense. I'm not going to sell car tires to a 3-year-old, am I? So there's no point me going to a 3-year-old. I'm going to sell car tires to car owners. So, so identify who your market is, and then go and speak to your market and help your market understand how what you've got, what you sell, solves a problem that they potentially could have. And if you're busy solving people's problems, then what are you selling? The doctor's not a salesperson, is he? He says, "What's your problem?" "My knee hurts." He has a look at it. "Right, you need this tablets, you need this ointment, and you need to put it walking crutches for a week." Okay, he doesn't sell it to you. He just tells you what's the best thing for you.
Yes, absolutely. Now, speaking of money, you've done $100 million, of 3 award-winning brands. So what is your secret sauce, if you will, as Andy Harrington calls it, or what is your tips, or what would actually be the foundational thing that you're persistent at that led you to that kind of success?
Okay, so if you look at the Blue Sky Thinking Group, the CEO's lady's name is Danielle Suchley. She runs the business, and Danielle's worked with me for 15 years. She joined me when she was 19 years old. She's now 34, married with 2 kids. And I've masterminded her career development over the last 15 years because of the talent she showed me on the very first day I met her. And I think one of the secrets to building a really successful business is to remember that a business is just people. And so when you grow a company, it's people. It's people that form and create and do everything. So find really good people. And if that means you have to wait a bit and be a bit patient to find those people, then be patient. But Danielle is incredibly talented. She's a phenomenal leader. She's a committed learner. She's always developing and growing herself. And she's a big part of why that those businesses are a big success. So a lot of people look at it and say it's me, but no, I have to give the credit to her. Now we have financial services business. We have a HR platform called Benapol, which is an anagram of benefits and people. And we have a corporate wellness business called Safe Hands. We care very much about, all of the people in the company care very much about what we do. And we could have a much bigger workforce. We could have much bigger numbers, but we chose the best of the best, the most talented people, the most ethical people, and the people with the right kind of passion for the industry to help us grow that. And one of the things we did is we took a chunk of the company and we gave it to the staff and said, look, if you achieve KPIs over the next so many years, then you can have a piece of the company. And when it gets sold, then guess what? Then you'll have a large payment that you'll receive will be a payment that will be life-changing. And so I got everybody committed to going in the right direction together. And so the camaraderie on the ship was good. And so the other thing is we just care very much about hard work. We understand what hard work is and we're prepared to work hard. And a lot of people aren't. I hear a lot of people talk about work-life balance and I need a work-life balance. I've got 3 children to bring up, or it's like, if I said to you, okay, you can't see your wife every night, okay, for more than an hour, okay, or your kids for more than 2 hours, but you can have every weekend with them, but I'll pay you $300,000 this year or $500,000 this year, okay, would you take it? And the reality is most people would take the money. So it's like, no, there'll be some people that go, well, no, I wouldn't do that. But most people would say, what, $300,000? Okay, I'll make that sacrifice. Well, that's the sacrifice of an entrepreneur. You have to give things up to get things. And so, my kids are 18 and 20 years old now, so they're a bit older, but you have to make some sacrifices along the way. And I think that with our business, Danielle and I have made big sacrifices. I didn't take an income from that business for many, many years. And by not taking an income, that meant that there was more money to reinvest into the business. And we built that company with an intention of selling it. So the valuation we have right now is what we have. We'll probably sell it in the oncoming 12, 24 months. But my passion is sales. And so the Make It Happen University is my passion project. It's what I care about deep down, okay, more than anything in the world, because I want everyone to learn how to sell. I'm so focused on teaching the world to sell. And I don't care whether you like selling or you don't like selling. If you own a business, you need to learn how to do it. And everyone in your business needs to learn how to do it too. And so that's where I spend my time. The university, the coaching classes that I do, the academy. And Danielle runs those businesses, and I go in there. We speak twice a day, but I go in there once a week, and she really is the boss.
Yeah, I vouch also that it's all of what I've learned from you, and the one thing that I really really changed my view on selling 180 degrees on business. 180 degrees was all mindset. The mindset you bring and it's just like common sense. It's like, you change the perception and the view, and you just, knock down the beliefs, you knock down the fears, and you just simplify it just through your making us look at it through your amazing mindset. And I'm very forever grateful for that, Spencer.
Thank you. I do believe that it is simple. And I think if you talk to a lot of successful entrepreneurs, they don't understand why people make it complicated.
Yes.
Does it require a lot of hard work? Yeah. Does it require being innovative? Yeah. But really, is it that hard? We're not splitting an atom here. We're not doing a degree in biology, are we? It's just not as difficult as people make it out to be. Is it hard work? Yeah, and most people are frightened of hard work because this is how our brains work. We have a conscious and a subconscious, and our subconscious is in control. our conscious needs to control the subconscious, and invariably it doesn't. Our subconscious is a risk management device for our brain. And so the subconscious wants us to lay on the sofa with the remote control on our chest eating Cheetos. You know, the subconscious wants us to lay in bed because that's where there's less risk. And so that's why for some people it's hard to get out of bed and it's hard to get off the sofa. It's easy to eat and put weight on because your subconscious is saying, chill out, man. Just put some telly on, have a glass of Coca-Cola over there, eat some of those French fries. Come on, it's easy. And so you have to take control of your subconscious. You have to say to it, you have to have a conversation and say, I'm not accepting this. No. All right, I'm not accepting this. And the way you do that is by working on your confidence with small wins. And so lots of people set these wild, crazy, amazing goals over 24, 36, 120 months. And I say, don't do that. I say, create a scenario where you can win quickly, but small. So if you have one client, okay, can we get 1.1 client by the end of the month? Can we get 1.2 clients by the end of next month? Can we increase bit by bit? Because what happens is when you increase a little bit, you feel good because you did better. And when you've done it, it's like doing a skydive. The first time you do a skydive is the most terrifying thing you'll ever done in your life. And you think everyone must be on drugs and out of their mind to do something so stupid. Okay, you do a skydive, you know what's involved. And guess what? You could do one again. That's like business. Once you have your best week ever, you now know that the benchmark's there, the ceiling's there. If your best week ever next week's even better, then the ceiling's just moved up, hasn't it? But you did it, so you know you can do it. And then it creates more self-confidence. It increases your self-esteem. It gives you more belief that things are possible. And it gives you that momentum. But you have to start somewhere.
Absolutely. And speaking of starting somewhere, you started a podcast, the Spencer Lodge podcast, which is now an award-winning podcast. And it's absolutely amazing. And the guests you have on there from Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, is just like absolutely great. So what advice, if someone is starting out who want to do a podcast, or do you recommend a particular, like, for example, your advice for me was second chances, because, that's my book, that's my roadmap, that's my system. And, that was a no-brainer, right? So what if people don't have a book? What if people don't have any kind of particular theme or whatever, and they want to get on with it and start a podcast? What do you recommend is, like, what would be the starting point? And why would they do a podcast to begin with?
The first question is why? Why do you want to do a podcast? And so, when I talk to my team, they're like, your podcast is your passion. You love doing your podcast, Spencer. It's just something that and you have and they say to me, you have an uncanny ability to be able to really dig into people's lives and learn about them. And that's because I'm naturally very curious. I'm split with the mindset or the understanding around podcasts. So I'll explain. If you want a podcast because you want to use it for business, you can have one. If you want a podcast because you want to build a personal brand, you can have one. You just have to decide what you want and why you want it. So let's imagine you were selling something and your podcast was around your subject matter. Let's take corporate sales training, because that's what I do. If I wanted to get a load of corporate clients, all I would need to do is to phone 25 CEOs up. I'll send them a message on LinkedIn and say, I'd love you to come on my podcast and inspire my audience. Out of those 25, 20 of them will say yes. I then got 20 1-hour meetings or 1.5-hour meetings with people that I get to know that are CEOs of companies. Now, once I've had that hour with them and they've inspired my audience, they've told their story. Okay, I then have their phone number in my WhatsApp. A week later, I send them a WhatsApp. Hey, I'd love to buy you a coffee, talk to you about the podcast, but also I'd like to pick your brains. I'd like to ask you a few questions. They're going to say yes. They always do. And so now I've got a face-to-face meeting over a coffee to talk about what I do with that CEO of that company. So from a prospecting point of view, it's there. And if your target market isn't CEOs and it's nurses, then nurses. If it's teachers, it's teachers. If it's whatever it may be, C-suite executives that speak Portuguese and Hebrew at the same time, I don't know, whatever it might be, you can identify who they are. So if you want to use it as a business development tool, I think it's a phenomenal business development tool. If you want to use it to build your personal brand, then I think it's phenomenal too. But you've got to know what you're trying to achieve. So what's your outcome? I don't generally talk to CEOs on my podcast. There's been a few, because I'm looking for really inspiring stories. I love Dr. Shafali Sabari. I love Nick Vujicic being on the show, but also like I had Katie Piper a couple of weeks ago, and she's a British girl that had acid poured all over her face by her boyfriend and has had 300 operations to rebuild her face, and she was a model. I love stories like that, that kind of that phoenix rising from the ashes type thing, and that what people have been through, and the fact that, you know, she's just such an incredible human being. I had Kevin Hines on just a few days ago, and Kevin was, when he was 19, he jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco to try and kill himself, and he survived. And as soon as he jumped, he knew he didn't want to die. And he's one of the few people that have ever survived jumping it. And these people have got stories that move me. You know, when you watch the podcast with Kevin, when it comes out, I'm crying in the podcast. I'm crying as he's telling me the story. Emma Gingrich the other day was an Amish girl at the age of 18. She ran away from the Amish community in Pennsylvania she was part of. And again, staggering story that she's got. So I'm really interested in people's stories. I want to know why they did what they did, how they got what they got, what challenges they faced, why it hurt, why they made those decisions they did. And I'm just genuinely very interested in people. And on the back of my real sincere interest, I've been able to, you know, get recognition for that podcast. And, you know, and a lot of people say, how would you get Tony Robbins on? Well, I asked. You know, I asked his manager. She said no. I asked his publicist. She said no. We sent her some flowers. She said, don't try and buy me with flowers. We sent her some cupcakes. She then said, I like cupcakes. I'll see what I can do. And so that's, you know, that's the kind of story that took place when we got Tony on the show. Tony was like mega and amazing. And really wonderful. But, you know, we had, you know, Michele Moroni, the guy that's in that movie on Netflix that all the women are drooling over at the moment. And what a lovely, humble man he was. He was, you know, the guy was a municipality gardener 12 months ago. He had nothing, you know, chronic depression, and just a humble guy. So what do you want to have a podcast for? And what do you want to get out of it? And if it's to reach more people and create content and bring stories to people's lives, or to educate people, then great. Okay, you can do it. But also remember, people are watching videos less. They're actually spending a lot more time listening than they ever have. So much so that I've got them here just to show you, but I bought these recently, okay? And they're noise cancelling headphones, all right? You've seen them before. But for me, they change so much, because I have ADHD, so I have trouble concentrating. And that trouble concentrating means if I sit in silence, I then get concentrated I get invaded by the noises in my head. So I have to, if I listen to those and I do something, I could really concentrate on the audiobook or the podcast that's coming through. And it's given me the ability to soak up even more knowledge and more information on different people's podcasts and audiobooks.
Awesome. Amazing. I mean, I can't believe like we only have literally 2 minutes. You believe like 45 minutes just went like, whew. So, but I want to ask you one more question about the, you have an e-learning training that you're going to be talking about tonight. Can you give us like a little bit of a, you know, a backstage sneak peek of or is that like, you know, confidential?
You're pretty much as backstage as it gets, you are. So you know what's going on in what I do. So from that point of view, look, I believe that there are some skills that people can easily learn. And if they come on the webinar, that they can learn some of the knowledge around it. But I believe there are ways that people can make a lot of money that they can't see. And there are easy ways to make a lot of money that they just can't see. They can't see what's right in front of them. And I've got some skills and some tools and some strategies that I want to go through tonight to help people understand what you can do. I want people to understand where they are. You know, I'm doing a webinar tonight to a few hundred people, but who am I? I'm just a working class kid that went out there and tried to make something of himself. And I'm nothing special. Please never think I'm anything more than just me. I'm a cheeky chappy. Okay, I'm from England, from London, just outside London. Okay, I'm nothing. I really am nothing special. But I went about learning these things, and I know that you could learn them too. And by learning new skills has helped me adapt and create a great professional life for myself. And remember, I'm always learning. The stuff that I'm doing right now, okay, I'm doing tonight on the webinar, I learned that in the last 4 or 5 years. It didn't exist before. And so I want you to learn these things too. And if you'll allow me to, and you come and join me tonight, I'll go through those steps with you. And if you see value in me, then guess what? You can come and join me and Hanan, and we'll do stuff together. And that's what I hope to achieve tonight.
Yeah. So about You're Nothing Special, I vetch to argue about that, and I have a lot of people on who disagree. Accountability is the key to success. A lot of people love what you're saying. Yes, true. Hind is also saying, I love it. Nazir is also sharing. Thank you, Spencer, for your genuine, sincere, and inspiring sharing as usual. Thank you, Dr. Hanan, for the great opportunity. I would have to, I beg to differ that you are very, very special, Spencer. And just to wrap up today, I usually, give a quote from my book, and really talk about how that would resonate with you. So the quote says, in 2 hours in flow, right before we got on the show, I mentioned what another word for flow was, which being in the zone, right? I can accomplish tremendous things. And you're one of those people, once you're passionate, in the zone, love what you're doing, including make it happen, including teaching sales and the mindset and everything that you bring to the table for others. And really, really, I believe you're the true, if there was in the dictionary a word that said service is the best selling, your picture would be there, Spencer. And what would you have to say to wrap it up with that quote?
There's two things I want to say. First of all, to everyone who has family or friends that are either Lebanese or friends of Lebanese people, my heart goes out to you guys big time. I've been so mortified by what I saw on the news last night and today. So, and I know prayers aren't enough, okay, but trust me, okay, everyone is thinking of you and everyone is behind you, and if what we can do to help, we will, okay. And if anyone's out there that wants to reach out and talk to me, then please, okay, please reach out and talk to me. I'll gladly have a chat with you. If I can help with anything, then please let me know. That's the first thing. Secondly, getting back to your point, flow. Flow to me, and whether you call it flow or in the zone, is the same thing, but to me, it's getting out of your head and into your body. And that's what we need to do. We need to get out of our heads and into our body. And that's because you're going from conscious to subconscious. You're going to not thinking about it. You're just doing. You're just literally giving. I don't think about a lot of things that maybe other people in business think about. Okay, all I think about is, how can I get my message and my skills out to more people so that they can have a better life? And all the time I do that, that just becomes part of who I am as a human being. And people say, I bounce around and I'm full of energy. You know what? I'm not always full of energy. Sometimes I do sit down quietly, and people think I'm an extrovert, okay? And trust me, when you know me, you'll know I'm not. I actually quite like my own time. I quite like to be within myself. But when you truly believe in what you do and you truly care about what you do, you'll find that you never do a day's work in your life. And I don't think that I go to work every day. I just get the chance to talk to people and maybe give some of them a little bit of a dig in the ribs, some of them a bit of a shake, and some of them a bit of a cuddle. And I do that all from the warmest and most sincere of places for everybody, so that they can go on and achieve the kind of things that are possible that maybe they just can't see in front of them right now. And there's my flow.
Yes. Absolutely. You are one of the few people that, speaking about, I always thought of finances and sales as a very boring, until I met you, Spencer. You really bring it, your passion, and you speak from the heart, and your accountability, and you're pushing us to, step up and serve others is truly, truly the new selling. And thank you so much, Spencer, for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it. Good luck tonight. I'm going to be there. I'm going to cheer you on. And please join Spencer tonight on the webinar. They could go straight to your LinkedIn, right, Spencer? That you have the link to join the webinar, right?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Spencer Lodge. You can find it there. You'll find it on Instagram at spencer.lodge. You'll find it there too. or on Facebook as well at Spencer Lodge Official. It's out there, or even Najahi, you'll find it there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you guys, everyone. Thank you, Spencer. And tune in next week for another amazing expert just like Spencer. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Every Wednesday, 3:30, be there or be square. Thank you. Take care.